Wealth is one of the primary battlefields in our lives. And the sooner that we realize that there is actual warfare against our wealth, the more equipped we can be to handle it and to change it. So in this episode, we're going to dig into exactly what that looks like and how to do that. So stay tuned, my friend. Do you have a burning desire in your heart to help in some way, to serve other people in some way, to, make an impact, to be an anonymous giver, to build a school, to build an orphanage, like any of those things, but yet you find that you're totally confined by time. You don't have enough time and you don't have enough money. I hear you, my friend. My name is Melanie, and this is her Prosperous journey. This is just a journey of how I am taking an online business and moving into a space of being able to make that kind of an impact. So if you want to learn how to earn more so you can serve more, give more, and live more, you're going to love this podcast. Let's dig in. For most of my life, I have said that money is not important to me. Money doesn't motivate me. I don't care about money. But you know what? That's actually a lie, because even though in my mind I think that that's true, but when I actually look at how much time in my life I have spent consumed or worried about finances, the truth is that it consumes a ton of time, and I bet it's the same for most people. As my relationship with the Lord has deepened over the years, and, I would have this burning desire to want to help in bigger ways, make a bigger impact, right? Like do more mission work, like self-fund my own mission trips or other people's mission trips, help even in the smallest ways. And I've been praying to the Lord, like, Lord, help me. How come I don't have the money to do that? How come I can't do that? And one thing that really became evident to me lately in this last few months was my aversion or my preoccupation with not making a lot of money. Like, I don't need to make a lot of money. But what God has really been showing me is that if I have lots of money, I can make a bigger impact. But we as Christians are taught, and we hear this from the pulpit, we hear it all over, that, we can't worry about money. Like, we can't think about making money. Like, we should really just be in the survival mode, because then we're content. But there's a huge difference between contentment and complacency. And I did have some time with God here, like a few months ago, where he told me that specific difference between contentment and complacency. And that actually wasn't what I was going to talk about here on this podcast. I'll touch on it briefly just to give you kind of a background, but contentment, like the Bible says, we are to be content in all things, right? And contentment means that, we have done all that we can and we're okay there. We don't have to strive. But complacency means that we sort of give up power to the enemy. It sort of means that we've sort of surrendered to the wrong leader. We've surrendered to fear or not wanting to, be big, be bold, like all of those things. But when we think about how much, and maybe, I don't know if you have thought about this, but I have really been thinking about this, and especially this morning in my divine business meeting with the Lord this morning, man, we were just digging in so deep into finances and the, not even just mindset, but the mentality of what's happening in our finances, the war that is inside of that whole realm. There is absolute spiritual, the devil wants to keep us broke. You know why I know that? Because if we don't have any money, we cannot fund the impact that's on our heart, right? The devil knows that if we that the money that we need fuels the vision that God's given us. So, if the devil can get us to doubt or to not want the desire that God's put on our heart, then the devil thinks he's safe, because as soon as he knows that as soon as we understand that provision for the vision that God has given us is going to change lives, is going to impact hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe millions of lives for his glory, the devil does not want that to happen. The devil does not want us to step into our calling. The devil does not want us to step into our vision that God has given us. He wants us to stay small. He wants us to stay complacent. He wants us to stay broke. He wants us to stay worried and stressed. But that's not what God says. God does not say that we should do that, right? So there's a few things that we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of dig into this whole mentality of this warfare that we have going on in our finances. So the first thing that we have to think about is that we have to have a battleground mentality. We have to know that we are warriors in war, in battle. It's not just about changing our mindset, even though, that a lot of people say that. But this is so much bigger than just mindset. Like this morning, when I woke up really early this morning, earlier than I normally do. So I got up at 4:00 this morning and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I got up and I was, I'm thinking, well, God obviously has something to talk to me about. So I get into my little sacred space, my prayer closet, even though it's not a closet, but, I get in there and I'm like, okay, Lord, what are we digging into today? And so we dug into, we really looked at scriptures about kingdom and about finances and about money and all these things. I was looking at different scriptures, reading different things. And so by the time 6:00 rolls around and I'd spent a couple hours with the Lord, I'm tired. I am tired. And I still gotta get up and do things, but I'm just gonna have a nap, which I do lots of times. I'll just lay my head back on the couch and I can just nap for 10, 15, 20 minutes and I can feel completely refreshed and revitalized. Anyway, so that's what I do. I lay my head back down but then I'm dreaming. Oh man, I am dreaming so much about, and I wish I could relive what those dreams were, but they were so vivid about being at war within the financial realm. And understanding what it means to be kingdom, what abundance actually means. All of these things were just rolling around in my head. And when I woke up, a few minutes later, I was just like, wow, that was some serious downloads that happened to me about this whole concept. And so the sooner that we understand that we are in a battlefield, for sure, the sooner that we can do something about it. And that leads me to my next point, is that provision is actually preparation. It's actually ammunition to fight. So when we think about all the lies that we've been told about money, right? You may have been told them by your pastor. You may have been told them by your teacher. You may have been told them by your parents. You may have been told them by, all the things. But what we have to realize is that everything tangible in our life, so our home that we live in, the car that we drive, the clothes that we're wearing, the everything, right? The phone or the device that you're listening to this podcast on, all of these things only came about because of money. So the sooner we can start to understand that money is not the issue. Money is really just a tool. My husband is a carpenter. He uses tools, right? He uses hammers and nails and saws and all the things. And money is just that. So the sooner we can realize that there doesn't have to be any kind of emotional issue with money, the sooner we can realize that money in itself is neutral. But our finances and the war behind them is not neutral. So we have to understand that we all have a vision. God has given each one of us a vision. Each one of us have a calling. Each one of us have gifting. And even though not every person is called to be a millionaire or called to make, build churches or build schools or go on mission trip. Not every person is called to do that. And that is totally cool. That's totally fine. But every single person is given something. And what we are called to do is to grow that and steward it well, to do something with it. And that's where we can stop the devil, is when we know that God has a call for us. And we have to grow, we have to improve, and we have to step into that calling. And that fuels or motivates us to say, no, Satan, get thee behind me, right? Get behind me. This is what God has called me to do, and this is what I have to do. And that means if God is calling me to make money, then I need to make money. If God is calling me to invest money, then I need to invest money. If God is calling me to give money, to give time, then I'm going to give money, I'm going to give time. So I hope that makes sense. The next point is that we need to move and multiply. So basically, this is about having an offensive strategy rather than just a defensive strategy. Many Christians believe, and they mostly think that we have to have a defensive strategy in this whole thing with money. So that means we, say no to debt, we penny pinch, we, do all the things, and then we just survive. But let me ask you something. How much more could we do if we were not worrying about the rent or the bills every single month? How much more? Like this morning, I was just running some numbers, right? I was just running some numbers from the online business that I have with these done-for-you digital products. Running the numbers. And all of a sudden it hit me. Like, all I was doing was going, because our mentor has said that if you aim for 30 leads a day inside your automated sales system, 30 leads a day, that's 900 leads a month. And if 20% of those only convert, that's 180 sales. Now, let's say, these sales can be anywhere from 100 to 900, depending on which program people buy. But you think about it, I just took it right down the middle. I just said, okay, what if it's 600? Let's say 600. You have 180 sales at $600 a sale with 100% profit. And that number came out to be 108,000, I think, if I remember right. And I went, wait a second. Obviously that's in a perfect world, right? Not always you get 30 leads and not always do they convert at 20%. But I was just kind of going with some of the numbers that were thrown out inside of our community. And I'm thinking, $108,000 a month. $108,000 a month. No, a year. No, wait. I think I'm like, oh, darn it. I should have brought that paper. But in any case, 600 times 180. So whatever that turns out to be. And when I figured that out, I'm like, the tithe, like I pay 10% on all my income, right? Automatically goes to God to do God's work. And I'm thinking 10% of that kind of money would make a really beautiful start to any kind of mission work, right? Like that's really going to expand God's work. And then, like for me, I'm really working on this concept of tithing a double tithe. So you tithe your 10%, but then you also tithe another 10%. And I'm thinking, whoa, can you imagine giving $20,000 in a tithe per month or whatever? Like that is absolutely crazy numbers to me. And it just blew my mind wide open because I thought, wow, what could happen with that kind of money? What could happen? What could we do? If we were even giving a quarter of that as an offering to something, to some ministry, to help your neighbor, to build a school, to whatever the case may be. Do you see how much that money could do? If that money was in the hands of someone that was, had a heart for God, had a heart for God's people, wanting to go out and make an impact, wanting to do mission work, wanting to truly, truly be the hands and feet of Jesus. If those huge amounts of money, because here's the thing, our mentor inside of our program, she mentors us every single day. She's a 7-figure earner. She's made $6 million in 2.5 years. Now, think about this. If that money was, all that kind of money was in the hands of someone who wanted to be the hands and feet to Jesus, what could be possible, right? That's what I'm thinking. Like, we need to have an offensive strategy when it comes to this warfare. We need to do more in order to grow our money, to multiply our money, to move our money, right? We have to do more in that regard. We can't just sit back and go, okay, well, I just need enough, I just need this tiny little bit to live. And I'm guilty of that because I did that for a long time. I just need a little bit. Like, we don't need a lot to live on. But then there's a business coach that actually brought this to my attention. When we say that, like, I don't need a lot, we can live on just a little bit, then who's it all about? It's all about us. It's all about my needs, what I need. It's my stuff being taken care of. But what if we thought bigger than that? What if it was so much bigger than that? Like, we could do amazing things if we weren't always worried about our bills. And that's why we need an offensive strategy. That's why you have to have some other form of income that's paying you more than just to cover your bills and to, whatever, live, right? So that's the next thing. And then the last point that I wanted to talk to you about is this warfare and wealth and what we can actually do about it. So once we become aware, that's step one. We become aware that we're actually in a war and that this is a battlefield and that we really have to have a strong warrior mindset when it comes to this kind of stuff. So with that said, we have to know that we are fighting for our children's inheritance. We're fighting for our children's inheritance. The Bible tells us that we should be leaving a legacy for our children and our children's children. How much time do we actually devote to leaving the legacy? Or are we simply surviving, right? Are we simply surviving and just trying to get by? So what if we could really dig into this mentality of warfare? And once we're aware, and once we know that we need some other kind of strategy to make money, now it comes down to guarding our thoughts, right? So instead of focusing on what's not working, we have to train ourselves to start focusing on what is working. We have to celebrate all the wins that happen. We have to become a strong leader. And in order to become a strong leader, we have to not only expect other people to have better attitudes and better behaviors, we have to do it ourselves because we can't expect them to do something that we're not prepared to do. So that means we have to dig in to our own, thoughts, routines, all these things, and we have to improve ourselves. So when we improve what we're doing, how we're reacting to things, how we're planning for things, that's going to ripple down to everyone else that we have contact with or influence around. And then the other thing that we have to do is we have to, I have it written down here, 1 second. We have to, we can't expect that this warfare is going to change overnight. We can't expect that years of generational spiritual warfare inside of finances, inside of family finances is going to go away overnight. So that means, we may start to build a business and we may not see success right away. But that's okay because we have to have enough faith to keep on keeping on, right? We have to know that as we learn skills and as we improve in all kind of areas of our lives, that we will start to see more fruit. But again, the fruit doesn't come just after you put the seed in the ground. There's a time of harvesting, a time of nurturing before harvesting, right? And so these are some of the things that we can look at is how to become a better leader, how to really, truly pay attention to what we're thinking about, like think about what we're thinking about and change it. We have the ability to take dominion over our thoughts. So that means just because there's a thought rolling around in our head does not mean we have to let it stay there. So we get to say, nope, back the truck up. That's not true. I'm not listening. I'm going to change that narrative in my head. We have the power to do that. Absolutely. So my friend, I pray that this blesses you, and I pray that some awareness came to you today about the actual warfare that we're in. And but get this. Okay. Sometimes when we think about warfare, we can get afraid. God says we're not to be afraid. He tells us, do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed, because he is with us, and he goes ahead of us and he comes behind us. And so my friend, I really hope that you feel that power in you, his power in you, and that you can actually go out and make the impact that's on your heart to make, right? You might not get to make it today. You might not get to make it tomorrow. But if you are faithful and you are a good steward of what God has given you, and you are open to having more than you need, more than you can use, because then you can put it to work in amazing ways, then that simple act of obedience is going to push back the enemy so much faster than if we are in doubt and stressed over what the Lord's asking us to do, and like all of these things, right? We need to just really step into who we belong to. When we belong to Jesus, when Jesus fills our heart and the Holy Spirit guides us, we can know that we can do all things. Because with us, it might be impossible, but with God, all things are possible. So my friend, I pray that this blesses you. And if you want to know more about having an online business with an automated sales system that you can work from anywhere and that can fit into the pockets of your day, and you can make 100% profit, then come on over to buildingimpactmakers.biz and grab the Freedom Formula, and you'll see how this can absolutely work for you. And also, if you have been blessed by this episode, my friend, I pray that you leave me a review, because not only does it warm my heart to hear from you, it also helps other people find this podcast that may need it. So pass it on, leave me a review, and check the show notes for any links that you need to get there. Okay, my friend, take care. God bless, and I'll see you next week.